Hello everyone. Hope you all are well. So here is an interesting story of what if Naruto falls for temptation with Tsunade. Let's begin prologue. Tsunade Baba. It was another peaceful day in Konohamaru no Sato. Well, as peaceful as it can get for a village full of ninja, that is. Let us draw our attention to one of the multitude of training areas within the village and focus upon the area in which one Uzumaki Naruto was currently training. After collapsing for the 10th time that day, Naruto decided that it was time for a break and wandered into the forest. After waking for some time, Naruto saw something which did not completely blend in with the whole forest setting. It was a gate, a big, gray gate, and it looked to have been there for a while too, because vines and moss seemed to be growing on the thing. Now normally someone would just walk away after seeing what appeared to be a very suspicious looking object, but Naruto was far from normal. Approaching the gate curiously, Naruto saw that the gate did not connect to anything. Why somebody would build a gate in the middle of the forest he did not know. Looking closely upon the gate, he could make out the blurry inscription that was the kanji for gate, or mon. He also noticed that upon the door right in the middle was an ofuda, or a talisman. Reaching out to touch the talisman, he was suddenly jerked back as he felt a strong pull from the gate. Wow, what's going on? Then he let out a scream of pain as he felt like he was being ripped apart. From a third-person perspective, we could see that Naruto was glowing with red chakra and that the gate seemed to be absorbing it. Because of the pain-induced haze that Naruto was in, he failed to notice as the talisman catch fire, then disintegrate, and that the gate was slowly opening. There was a bright flash and then the pain faded. Panting heavily, he tried standing up but failed. He fell like a ton of bricks. Thankfully, though, two pillows saved him from what would have been a painful landing. Wait, how could there be pillows in the forest? Naruto thought. Propping on all fours, he saw that the pillows were in fact the endowments of a beautiful young girl who looked to be no older than 18. A girl that was currently waking up. Where am I? As she regained consciousness, she noticed two things. 1. There was a boy on top of her. 2. He was grabbing her beeps. Noticing the trickle of blood coming from the boy's nose, her reaction was not pretty. Hya, hentai. Immediately noticing her response, Naruto quickly lifted his hands from their previous position. Wait, it was an accident, I didn't mean to. His reply was cut short, however, cause getting punched in the face tends to do that. As he flew into a tree, and before he passed out, all he could think was so soft. Suaku, I'm 14, you old hag. Waking up from his peaceful slumber, Naruto noticed that it was already late into the afternoon and that he was still in the forest where he found that girl that came out of nowhere. Standing up, he decided that it was time to go home. After walking for a few meters, he stopped dead in his tracks when a voice from behind him called out, "Who are you?" Naruto whipped around to see that it was the girl from before. Hey, you're that girl from before. Why did you hit me all of a sudden? The girl rewarded his statement with a glare. Serves you right, pervert. I am not a pervert, it was an accident, okay? I suddenly got drained by this weird gate thing. There was a flash, and then you appeared. At the mention of the gate thingy, both boy and girl directed their gaze to a spot where it looked like an explosion had happened but found nothing. It's gone, Naruto said. What is? Said the girl. There was this big gate here a while ago. It was black and had a weird paper thingy on it. The girl directed a skeptical look to Naruto. I see, and this gate you speak of just vanished after you touched it. Yeah. A moment of silence passed as the two contemplated what to do. Naruto decided to break the silence by asking, by the way, what's your name? Isn't proper to say your name first before asking someone else's name? Oh, sorry. Naruto stood up and gleefully said, I'm Uzumaki Naruto, Uzumaki. The girl thought then he must be related to him. I'm Tsunade, the best and most beautiful kunoichi in all of Konoha. Kunoichi? You mean you're a ninja too? Naruto asked. That's right. Well, I'm the best ninja and the future Hokage. An image appeared in Tsunade's mind, the image of the smiling face of a young boy. Oni-chan, my dream is to become Hokage. Seeing that Tsunade looked a bit sad, Naruto approached her and asked, Hey, are you okay? I just remembered something. Naruto started walking out of the area. Oi, where are you going? Naruto turned around and replied, I've got to go home, the genin examinations are tomorrow. Wait, do you mind if I walk with you? No, not really. Tsunade stood up from her position and followed Naruto out of the area. About halfway before they reached the village, a figure dropped from the trees. Because Tsunade came from a time when Konoha was at war, her immediate reaction was to draw a kunai and face the newcomer. Who are you? When it turned out to be none other than the Sandame, Tsunade. He asked. Sarutobi-sensei, said a shocked Tsunade. Then more figures dropped from the trees and revealed themselves to be Anbu, who immediately took hold of Naruto and held him down much to his displeasure. Oiji-chan, what's the meaning of this? Naruto screamed as the Anbu attempted to hold him down. Sandame signaled the Anbu to release Naruto and they did so. Sandame regarded Naruto and Tsunade before turning to the rest of the Anbu. All of you return to your posts, nothing has happened. Hi. They responded before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Sandame turned and addressed the remaining two people. Now why don't we go to the tower and discuss this matter in private? Scene change. Standing in front of the Hokage's desk, Naruto and Tsunade stood quietly beside each other. Naruto was about to speak up, but the Hokage beat him to it. So Naruto, you were training and then you found this gate. That after touching, you felt like it was draining you of energy and then she appeared, am I correct? Naruto faced the Sandame and replied, yes. Sandame looked at the two again and then said, and Tsunade was it? Hi, Hokage-sama. After gaining consciousness you saw that Naruto had passed out due to chakra exhaustion and you looked after him? Hi. After this brat passed out. Oh, what do you mean by brat, huh? I'm 14 years old, you know. Tsunade stared at him in disbelief. No way, you're 14 and yet you're this short? She said before bursting into laughter. Then you're not only a brat but you're also a shrimp? Tsunade said between gasps of breath. Naruto turned red at the statement. Well, you're not so tall yourself, and how old are you anyway? Tsunade stopped laughing and stood up. Just so you know, I'm already 18 years old, but most people say that I only look 16. Oh, and struck a pose. Both the Sandame and Naruto sweat dropped at the sight. People only said that because they saw the one and only Tsunade Hime punch the equally famous pervert Jiraiya out of the village after a comment about her age, thought the Sandame. Ha, if I'm a shrimp then you must be an old hag. The temperature suddenly dropped then. Before Naruto knew what had happened to him, he had been punched through the floor and back into unconsciousness. The Sandame took a puff of his pipe before regarding Tsunade. I am so proud to see that you did not slack off in your training. Tsunade suddenly remembered that she was in the presence of the Hokage and that she had punched a hole in his office. Please forgive my rudeness, Sarutobi-sensei. Sandame took another puff of his pipe before waving a dismissing hand. No need to apologize, things like that are easily repaired. Tsunade looked through the hole at the unconscious form inside it. If you're worried about Naruto, I have arranged for him to be taken home by his academy teacher. The Sandame's voice suddenly turned serious. Now who are you really and where are you from? Tsunade turned to face the Sandame and said, I'm Tsunade from the village of Konoha, granddaughter of the Shodaime and medic of the team you lead, Sarutobi-sensei. I'm inclined to believe you, however that information is too general. Maybe something more personal will convince me. Tsunade thought for a moment before she said, there was this one time that Jiraiya explained that his skills improve when peeping and you said that next time you would go with him. Sandame turned red at that statement. How do you know that? Sandame said, an expression of shock on his face. Tsunade sighed then said, I told you already, I know because I'm Tsunade. Then can you explain why you look 32 years younger? Tsunade looked at the Sandame and shouted. Have you become senile, sensei? Why would I want to look 32 years younger when I'm not even 50? Sandame sighed. Then tell me about how you got to the forest that Naruto was training in. All right, it was when we were on a mission. Ryu. Reason. Then tell me how you got to the forest Naruto was training in. Tsunade sat down and said. All right then, it was when we were on a mission. Flashback. We had been sent on routine scout mission through Earth Country. Everything had been going well until Jiraiya, Orochimaru and Tsunade can be seen walking through a forest. Well, Orochimaru and Tsunade were walking. Jiraiya was walking and scribbling something onto a notepad. What the hell are you doing, Jiraiya? We're in the middle of a mission, you know. Tsunade shouted, irritation clear in her voice. Jiraiya looked up from his notepad and regarded Tsunade for a moment. Jiraiya looked thoughtful for a moment before breaking into a lecherous grin and then returning to his scribbling, giggling all the way. Tsunade stomped over to Jiraiya and swiped the notepad from his hands. What the hell are you writing? That's more important than focusing on the mission. Snapping out of his perverted fantasies, Jiraiya decided to answer Tsunade's question. Ha 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 ha. What you are holding right now, my dear still flat-chested Tsunade Heim, is the draft of future best-selling novel in not only in Fire Country, but in all 4 great countries. I will call it Icha Icha Paradise Bohahahahaha. A few meters from Jiraiya, Tsunade was trembling and a battle aura seemed to glow around her. Orochimaru, knowing better than to be in Tsunade's way when she's angry, carefully scooted away from her. You pervert. With that battle cry, Tsunade punched Jiraiya into the ground. You think that just because you can put your perverted fantasies on paper that you're a writer now, huh? And with that she proceeded to tear the notepad into little pieces. What the hell do you think you're doing, you flat-chested bitch? Jiraiya shouted from his face-down position. What else? I'm ridding the world of another horrible idea from a perverted freak like you. Tsunade replied. We were too careless. We thought there were no enemies in the area. We were wrong. All 3 suddenly tensed up and shifted into ready stances. Oi Jiraiya, Tsunade, did you feel that? Both of them replied. How many do you think there are, Orochimaru? Tsunade asked. Orochimaru's eyes darted left and right, looking for the slightest distortion in the trees. 4, possibly 5, most likely all Junin. Yosh, finally some action. This mission won't be so boring after all. Jiraiya exclaimed while pulling out a kunai from his holster. Don't let your guard down. The enemy appears to have some skill as well. Tsunade exclaimed. The 3 started moving through the forest again, tension clearly seen on their faces. The enemy is most likely following us from a safe distance. Don't let your guard down, Orochimaru said. Damn it, I hate these waiting games. Why don't we just find them and beat them up? Jiraiya shouted from his position. Also, our mission was to scout out enemy territory and gather information, not engage the enemy in combat, Tsunade added in. We were still 2 days away from the rendezvous point. We were expecting an attack. They did not let us down. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Orochimaru sat around a small fire, their kunai right in the ground beside them should there be an attack. Nay. It's been a day already. Do you think they gave up? Tsunade turned to Jiraiya and said, probably not. Maybe they went to get reinforcements or they decided to regroup. What do you think, Orochimaru? Jiraiya directed his gaze at Orochimaru, who looked to be deep in thought. They probably decided to call reinforcements, seeing as how the 3 of us are actually well known in the 5 countries. The so-called Sannin, a team who was taught by the current Hokage himself. It would not be a surprise if they decided to call for reinforcements. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade looked a bit surprised. Were that famous? Which means, Orochimaru continued, that we will have to expect a bigger, more coordinated attack? Both Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded, seeing that once again, that Orochimaru was right. It was to be decided that Jiraiya was to take the first shift. After a few minutes, Jiraiya started to feel drowsy and, unable to resist, fell asleep himself. In the shadows of the treetops, a group of 10 stone nin waited. A man with long black hair, whom I will call Stone Nin Zero, was directing his men. All right, you there, he said, pointing at a man whom I will call Stone Nina. Take 2 men to the ground. Set up a perimeter around those 3 and ready the jutsu. Stone Nina nodded and pointed at 2 other men situated on branches behind him and disappeared. Yosh, now you, he said, addressing a stone nin to his left. Take another squad and drop down to about mid-level of these trees and commence the attack on my signal. Stone Ninb, as I will now call him, nodded and disappeared along with 2 others and positioned themselves a few branches lower than Stone Nin Zero. A hand signal later and the attack had begun. A barrage of kunai from Stone Ninbi's squad flew towards the 3 blankets that were situated on the forest floor. The kunai hit, sticking into their targets with dull thuds. Slightly surprised that the barrage actually hit their target, Stone Ninb and his squad decided to confirm their kill. Kicking the blankets, Stone Ninb and his squad did not have time to escape as 3 explosive tags that were attached to logs exploded, ending the lives of Stone Ninb and his squad. Stone Nina's squad had noticed the explosive tag and Kawarimi combo a little earlier and quickly made hand seals. Doden. Tsuchi Tate no Jutsu, Doden. Earth shield technique, and slammed their hands into the ground, creating a wall of earth to shield them from the explosion. After the explosion their shields were completely obliterated, but the stone nins themselves remained unharmed. Tsunade appeared from behind Stone Nina and quickly delivered an earth-shattering punch to his gut. Grabbing him by the vest, Tsunade lifted him just in time to block two incoming kunai from her left. Discarding the corpse, Tsunade ducked a swipe from a wrist blade. Grabbing the outstretched arm, she pushed at the elbow joint of the attacker. Satisfied to hear a loud snap from the assailant's arm, she stepped back just in time to avoid a downward slash from the one remaining Stone Nin and allowing it to cut the arm right at the elbow. Shouting in pain, the Stone Nin grasped at where his forearm used to be. Quickly moving behind the still active Stone Nin, Tsunade tripped him, and as he was falling, she plunged the severed forearm that still had a wrist blade attached right through him. From his position in the treetops, Stone Nin Zero regained composure just in time to see Tsunade attack Stone Nina's squad. He was about to order the rest of his squad to go and assist, but instead of finding his squad, he only found two corpses riddled with needles and another corpse nailed to a tree by a sword. "How do you like my Harigami no Jutsu, hair needle technique?" a beepy voice shouted from behind Stone Nin Zero. Whipping around, Stone Nin Zero found Jiraiya and Orochimaru standing just a few branches away. As expected of the team trained by the current Hokage himself, it seemed as if we have lost from the very start. "You're damn right you did," Jiraiya shouted. Quickly tossing a smoke bomb, Stone Nin Zero decided that retreat was better than capture, but before he could even jump, a fist was quickly planted into his gut courtesy of Tsunade. Falling to the forest floor, Stone Nin Zero pulled out a scroll from one of the many pockets of his Junin vest and quickly opened it. Right before landing, Stone Nin Zero bit his thumb and ran it across the scroll, leaving a red streak on it. Quickly closing the scroll again, he held it between his pointer finger and thumb. Kuchiyos. Tomen no Jutsu. Summoning. Time Gate. Suddenly Blue Charka burst out and leapt out towards Tsunade, who followed Stone Nin Zero after he fell. "I can't move," Tsunade thought. Then a big gate appeared in front of her. Behind the gate, Stone Nin Zero laughed. "With this, the stone will have one less problem to deal with." He was unable to finish his sentence as two kunai hit him in the head, but it was too late to stop the summoning. Jiraiya and Orochimaru arrived just in time to see the gate open up and a strong wind seemed to blow out of it. "Tsunade!" Jiraiya and Orochimaru shouted at the same time while trying to get closer to her. However, the wind was too strong. "There was a bright flash, and when I woke up, I was near that kid." End flashback. Tsunade took a deep breath after telling the story. The Sandaime looked at her and took a puff of his pipe. "I see, such a summoning is considered rare even in this continent." Tsunade looked at the Sandaime. "What do you mean, sensei?" The Sandaime took another puff of his pipe before replying. "Tsunade, the ninja wars have ceased. We are now in a time in wherein Konoha is at peace." Tsunade looked shocked. "What? That gate you saw was probably a very rare summoning jutsu in which the user can send an enemy of theirs to whatever time period they want." Tsunade looked on in disbelief. "But jutsus like that were said to have been lost. That still does not change the fact that you are in the future, Tsunade." Tsunade suddenly became silent as the gravity of the situation hit her. Seeing his student like this, the Sandaime decided to brighten up the situation. "There may be a way to return you to your own time in the Scroll of Forbidden Seals. I will look into it. For now, why don't rest and have a look at what your efforts during the war brought?" Tsunade looked up and smiled. "I would like that, sensei." Tsunade then thought, "But sensei, where am I going to stay?" Sandaime looked at her. "Don't worry, I know just the place." "Shiken, exam. Don't worry, I know just the place," Sandaime said. Sandaime led Tsunade through the town, pointing out certain areas along the way. "As you can see, Tsunade, Konoha prospered since the end of the war. Businesses are thriving and children can play safely in the streets. We no longer need to worry about an attack, although we still keep security tight, since there are those who still bear ill will against Konoha." Sandaime stopped in the middle of his explanation to look at Tsunade, who was looking at everything with an amazed look. "Amazing, isn't it, Tsunade?" Sandaime asked. Snapping out of her reverie, Tsunade replied, "Hi. I can't believe this is Konoha." Tsunade thought. "Everything looks so peaceful. The usual tension that was present in the atmosphere is gone." Averting her gaze from a nearby store, she asked the Sandaime, "This was what Oji-sama and everyone were fighting for, right, sensei?" Her face softening. "Yes, Tsunade, this was what Shodem-sama and Nidaime-sama were fighting for, peace." The two of them stopped in front of a rather extravagant-looking inn. The sign out front said, Inagawa. Sandame stepped inside and approached the counter. Excuse me. I would like to rent a room for my niece here. The elderly woman who was slightly dozing off behind snapped to attention and greeted them with a warm smile. Era? Hokage-sama? Please excuse my behavior, the inn has been very busy lately and… No need to apologize, it's quite all right, Sandame said. As I was saying, I would like to book a room for my niece. She has recently arrived from Earth Country and will be staying here for a while until she can set up permanent residence. That was not too far from the truth, except for the niece part. Everything fitted perfectly. Tsunade had come from Earth Country, albeit by a very unorthodox method, but the innkeeper did not need to know that. The innkeeper directed her gaze at Tsunade. It is an honor to have a relative of the Hokage staying in our inn, she said, then bowed. Tsunade did likewise. Thank you. The innkeeper reached behind the desk and pulled out a key. Here is the key to your room. Please excuse me, I did not catch your name. It would sound strange or suspicious if people find out that I'm named after someone famous who is supposed to be older than I look. From what I gather of Sensei's speech a while ago, there seems to be another, older me in this time. It would be wiser if I use a false name, Tsunade thought. Reiko. Shimada Reiko, pleased to meet you. Handing the key to Tsunade, the innkeeper said, Your room is down the hall, Reiko-sama, it is the one with the number 7 on it. If you would like, there is an onsen in the back, use it as you wish. There is also a pachinko parlor and gambling area downstairs if you are into that. If there is something you need, feel free to ask any our staff. And with that the innkeeper walked away. Knowing of Tsunade's problem, Sandame pulled out his wallet and handed Tsunade a few bills. Here's some money, don't spend it all on gambling, alright. But his words fell on deaf ears as Tsunade swiped the money from his hands and disappeared downstairs. Sandame was about to step out of the building when a hand gripped his shoulder. Sensei, could you lend me some more money? Sandame turned around to discover that it was none other than Tsunade. What? You lost it all? Sandame shouted. Hi? Tsunade replied sheepishly. Sandame face-faulted, but it's only been 5 minutes, he said after standing up. Well, you know I'm a bit unlucky, Sensei. Sandame directed a skeptical look her way. Okay, always unlucky, but I just can't help it. Sandame sighed and pulled out another wad of bills. This the last amount I am going to give you. But he was unable to finish his sentence as Tsunade once again swiped the bills from his hand and disappeared downstairs. Not wanting any more of his money to be taken, Sandame immediately poofed away. Later, or should I say 5 minutes later, Tsunade lowered herself into the hot bath and relaxed as the water soothed and relaxed. This is great, I never got a chance to relax like this during the war. She looked down at herself and noticed the necklace that hung from her neck. Nawaki, I wish you would have been able to see this. Konoha is at peace, all the fighting, the sacrifices, it's all over. Sorry if I dragged that scene out too long. Scene change. It was the day of the Genin exam and it was Naruto's turn. Alright Naruto, to pass this exam you need to make 3 bunchins, you can do that right? Iruka asked from the examiner's table. Naruto laughed then said, No problem Iruka-sensei, this'll be a piece of cake. He then formed a handseal and shouted, Bunshin no jutsu. There was the explosion of smoke and for a while, nothing happened until it started raining forearms in the examination room. The examiners suddenly found themselves being held by forearms in all sorts of places, although Iruka can be seen seething in a vein visible on the side of his forehead. The vein only increased in size as the forearm that had latched onto his shoulder pulled itself to the side of his face and stuck a finger in his ear. Naruto. You fail. Iruka shouted while removing the appendage, after which he threw at Naruto, hitting him dead center in the groin. As Naruto collapsed, the other Chunin examiner, Mizuki, turned to Iruka. Iruka-sensei, why don't we just let him pass? I mean, it is his 4th time, you know. Iruka gave Mizuki a stern look. Mizuki-sensei, to pass this test, a student must be able to make at least 3 bunchins. Failing to do so will result in not passing the exam. Just look at this. Iruka gestured at the room filled with wiggling forearms. He could not even make a proper bunchin. If we let him become a genin now, it will only result in disaster. At his swing, Naruto looked at the parents that came to congratulate their children for passing the genin exam. 2 parents were looking in Naruto's direction, Hey, isn't he, you know that? One parent whispered. I'm glad they didn't let that boy graduate, after all he is the… Shush, we're not allowed to talk about that in public, you know the law. Back at his swing, Naruto was about to continue sulking when a figure covered his light. Hey shrimp, what are you doing all the way over here? Naruto looked up from his position to find Tsunade staring down at him. Oh, it's just you. Tsunade looked offended by the statement she was about to retort when Naruto got up from his swing and started running to the opposite direction of the academy. Oi! Where are you going? Tsunade shouted, but it was too late. Naruto was gone. It's the fourth, huh? Naruto thought as he gazed at the sunset. After his run-in with Tsunade, Naruto decided to visit one of his favorite spots in Konoha, the top of the Hokage monument. I didn't expect to see you here, Naruto-kun. A voice called out from behind Naruto. He glanced at the direction of the voice and saw the other Chunin examiner, Mizuki. Don't be too angry at Iruka-sensei, he's only doing his job, he said as he took a sat down next to Naruto. A few minutes of silence passed. Shall I tell you about the special method of passing the genin exam? Mizuki inquired. Naruto looked up from his sitting position at Mizuki's face. Scene change. Iruka was awakened from his sleep by a loud knocking that could be heard from his door. Who could it be at this hour? He opened the door to find Mizuki behind it and breathing heavily. Iruka. It's Naruto, he's stolen the scroll of forbidden seals, Mizuki shouted. Hokage-sama has ordered all available ninja to search for him and retrieve the scroll, and with that, Mizuki turned and left. Iruka quickly dressed and ran out of his house, locking the door on the way. Why would Naruto take the scroll of forbidden seals? It doesn't make any sense, Iruka thought while jumping across rooftops. There is only one place Naruto could be if they have not found him yet. Iruka hoped that he could find Naruto first so that a big misunderstanding could be prevented. In the streets below, alone Kunoichi noticed that Junin and Shunin are moving about in such a fashion that was only seen during attacks or if an intruder is found. What's going on? Isn't that the shrimp's teacher? Maybe something happened to the brat. And with that thought, Tsunade leapt up from the streets. Scene change. Yosh, that's one technique down. Maybe Iruka-sensei will let me pass the exam now. Naruto stood in a small area with a fallen log, panting from exhaustion. Hearing someone drop from the trees behind him, Naruto turned to face the newcomer. Naruto. What are you doing with the scroll of forbidden seals? Iruka said after dropping from his hiding spot in the trees. Exhaustion could be clearly seen from his face as he was panting and sweating heavily. It looks like I've been found, Naruto said while scratching the back of his head in embarrassed manner. Anyo-sa, sensei, I've learned one of the techniques from this scroll. Now you'll let me pass, right? Right? Naruto exclaimed while bouncing around Iruka that could only be attributed to Naruto's hyper behavior. He's been training all this time. Iruka thought as he examined the Naruto's condition. What are you talking about, Naruto? He questioned as Naruto's last statement sunk in. You know, that if I master a technique from this scroll you let me pass the genin exam, Mizuki-sensei said so. Naruto explained through closed eyes. Mizuki did. Iruka managed to say before suddenly grabbing Naruto and shielding him from a giant shuriken that would have otherwise cleaved Naruto in half. Thank you for retrieving the scroll for me, Naruto-kun. Now hand it over, called a voice that belonged to none other than Mizuki, who was perched on one of the trees in the area. Naruto, don't listen to him, he only wants the scroll for himself. Iruka shouted from where he positioned himself after removing the shuriken. Shall I tell you a secret, Naruto-kun? About why the village direct those cold looks at you. About why they hate you. Mizuki shouted. Naruto froze in his place and looked at Iruka. Sensei, what's he talking about? Fear clearly seen in his eyes. I'll tell you then. You know the demon fox that attacked years ago, right? It was said that the fox was destroyed by the Ondaime, but that's not true. The truth is it was sealed into a newborn baby. You. It all makes sense. The cold stares the hate directed at me, Naruto thought as visions of the cold stares he received in Konoha came to mind. That's right, Naruto, you're the demon fox, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of people, Iruka's parents included. Did you actually think he was being nice to you? No, he was only waiting for his chance to avenge his parents' death. Naruto looked at Iruka, terror clearly visible on his face. Wait, Naruto, it's not like that. Iruka shouted as he saw Naruto bolt into the forest. Wait! Demon! Mizuki shouted as he chased after Naruto. Iruka stood up and also gave chase. Mizuki saw Naruto and threw his giant shuriken. I've got you. Naruto was sliced cleanly in half only to explode in a puff of ninja smoke, a log sliced in half replacing him. Kawarimi. Mizuki saw another Naruto and jumped after giving him a kick in the side. Naruto hit a tree and exploded in a puff of ninja smoke, revealing Iruka. Still protecting the demon, Iruka? Mizuki said to the fallen Iruka with a sneer. He's not a demon, he is one of my precious talented students, Iruka said. He may have low grades and he just pulls pranks most of the time, but Naruto is one of the most hard-working ninja that I have ever seen. Very nice, Iruka, you can tell that to him when you meet in the next world, Mizuki said as he pulled out a kunai and thrusted toward Iruka only to stop halfway when a kunai flew from his left and hit his arm. Don't you dare lay a finger on Iruka-sensei, Naruto shouted from his position, the scroll of seals placed near him. If you try to hurt Iruka-sensei again, I'll kill you. A strong wind blew across the area as Naruto formed a hand seal, Kujubunshin no Jutsu. There was a huge puff of smoke and when it cleared, Naruto's covered the entire forest. Mizuki stumbled back and fell. Hey, what's wrong, huh? Shouted the multiple Narutos in unison. If you, not going to attack, then we will. And thus commenced the most painful experience in Mizuki's life. Dawn had arrived and with the beaten Mizuki behind him, Naruto looked at Iruka. I did it, sensei, he exclaimed before falling like a sack of bricks. From his palace near the tree, Iruka smiled. He mastered such a high-level ninjutsu in such a short time, absolutely amazing, Naruto. Naruto, come here. Naruto stood up and then sat down in front of Iruka and to his surprise, Iruka placed the Hittite on Naruto's forehead. Congratulations, you passed the Genin exam, Naruto. Naruto looked at the forehead protector, tears about to burst from his eyes. Arigato, Iruka-sensei. From her spot in the trees, Tsunade clearly saw all that transpired. Smiling to herself, she thought the shrimps not half bad before disappearing. Futsu, normal. We find Naruto sitting in a chair at the ninja administration's office. The Hokage was sitting on chair behind a desk which had a stack of papers on it. Fill these up, the Sandame said, slightly pushing the stack of papers towards Naruto. After looking at the pile of papers, Naruto turned to the Hokage. I don't want to. Naruto, these documents are very important, fill them up now. Naruto grimaced, then made a hand seal, henge. When the smoke cleared, there stood a buxom blonde. Please, Hokage-sama. The female Naruto blew a beep which caused the Sandame to stare, then have blood sprout out of his nose and tip over his chair. After recovering, the Sandame could be seen wiping his nose. Oroku no Jutsu is what you called it, right? What a ridiculous technique. Naruto scratched the back of his head as if the previous statement was a compliment. By the way, Naruto, I have something to talk to you about. Something. The door suddenly slid to the side to reveal a little boy with a long, blue scarf. Gigi, I challenge you. The boy started running towards Sandame, shuriken in hand. The title of Godem Hokage shall belong to me, Konohama, only to trip on his own scarf. Konohamaru tried to stand. A trap, huh? Another person entered the room. Are you all right, young master? By the way, there are no traps? The man said while pushing his shades up his nose. Who the hell is this kid? Naruto thought. Konohamaru noticed Naruto, then stood up. You did something, didn't you? He said while pointing at Naruto. Naruto stood up, then grabbed Konohamaru by his scarf. You just tripped on your own, you idiot. Naruto. Release him at once, Ebisu the elite Junin said, which caused Naruto to turn to him. That boy is Sandame Hokage-sama's grandson. Naruto looked at Konohamaru intently. He's the same as everybody else, he just sees me as the Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru thought. What's wrong? Too scared to hit the grandson of the Hokage. Naruto raised his fist, then delivered it straight onto Konohamaru's head. Like I care about that, you idiot, he said. Before passing out, Konohamaru thought this guy is Nani, Ebisu said, clearly shocked by what had transpired. The Sandame took a puff of his pipe, yar yar, and shook his head. Scene change. Tsunade woke up from her sleep by the ringing of the alarm clock. Deciding that it would be nice to take a better look around Konoha, she took a shower and then dressed herself. After opening the door she came face to face with a Junin who was about to knock. "Shimada Reiko-san, right?" the Junin asked. Quickly remembering the false she used, Tsunade replied, "Yes. Hokage-sama requests your presence at the tower." What would sensei need to see me for? Tsunade thought. "All right, please tell him that I will be there immediately." "Hi," the Junin said before poofing away. After reaching the tower, Tsunade stood in front of the Hokage's office. "Hokage-sama is expecting you, please enter," the lone bodyguard said. Tsunade entered the office and the doors closed behind her. "You wanted to see me, sensei?" she asked. The Hokage turned from the big window which had a spectacular view of Konoha. "Yes, Tsunade, it concerns your permanent residence. I have found a suitable place," he said while handing a small piece of paper to Tsunade. "It was the only place we could find on such short notice. It is a little small, but I am sure it will fit your needs." "Thank you, sensei," Tsunade said before turning around and exiting the office. As the doors closed behind her, Tsunade failed to see the wide grin that was on Sandame's face. Scene change. Naruto sat on a log with Konohamaru. The name Hokage isn't something which is that easy to obtain. It takes a lot of hard work and determination to be worthy of the name. And if you want the title of Hokage so much, Naruto turned to look at Konohamaru, "You're gonna have to beat me for it." Konohamaru stood up and turned his back to Naruto. Talking as if you know everything. Konohamaru faced Naruto again. "I quit being your follower, from now on we're rivals. You had better be prepared for the day when I take the title of Hokage from you." "I look forward to that day, Konohamaru," Naruto said while walking away and waving with one hand. Konohamaru stood at attention and gave a salute to Naruto's retreating back. Scene change. Pulling out the keys to his apartment from his pocket, Naruto could think of nothing better to do than sit down, have a cup ramen, and then sleep. After sniffing himself he decided that a bath would be nice too. Entering his apartment he immediately noticed something strange. Everything looks cleaner. After a few more steps Naruto picks up the sound of running water. Silently creeping towards the bathroom door, Naruto pressed his ear on the door to listen. Somebody's in here now. Naruto would not know why someone would break into his house just to use his bathroom, but that doesn't matter. Kicking the door open, Naruto was rewarded to the sight of a naked Tsunade, who was currently enjoying a nice shower after cleaning the somewhat dirty apartment that her sensei had given the key to. Seeing that somebody had burst into what she presumed was her shower, Tsunade reacted as any powerful female in any anime would, hentai-ei. She reared back her fist and planted it on the side of Naruto's face, sending him through the nearby wall. Suiku omake 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 tenjou Naruto. A long time ago when school was our sanctuary. It was a paradise. Two boys are seen riding a bike into a school that had the sign, Konoha Gakuen, near its gate. The two boys hopped of their bike revealing red and blonde hair. Scene change. A figure with white hair ran down the fire escape on the side of the building, coming to a stop in front of a post that had a short girl with blonde hair on it. "Bucho, sorry to keep you waiting," the figure said in between breaths. Bucko is a term used to refer to the president or captain of a club. "You're late, Yakushi," the small girl on top of the post said. "Gomen, my class took a bit long," he said before pushing his glasses up his nose. "But more importantly, did the new club member, your sister, come?" The two came upon a structure that appeared to be a dojo. "Is she really strong like you, Bucho?" "Well, I say she still has a long way to go," the girl said from her position on Kabuto's shoulders. They opened the door to the dojo. "Ino. It's your senpai. Come say hello, Ino." There, in the middle of the dojo stood a blonde-haired girl holding a long sword, sakura petals floating around her. The girl quickly drew her sword and went into a dance, slashing so fast that normal eyes can't follow. The dance ended with her in a crouching position, her sword sheathed at her side, all the sakura petals sliced neatly in half. Amazing was all Kabuto could think after seeing the display. Scene change. A body falls to the floor from a hard punch to the face delivered by the blonde. Another body joins the previous one courtesy of a kick from the redhead. One more body is kicked into the door of the classroom by the blonde. There is a pause in the chaos as one of the remaining students in the classroom shouted, "Yo, you bastards, aren't you just freshmen?" The student beside him, noticeably quivering in fear, added, "Know your place, damn it." The blonde took a step forward, which caused the other two to step back. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto," he said. "Sabaku no Gara," the redhead proclaimed from his spot near the blonde. Naruto took another step forward and shouted, "As of today, this school is under the rule of us, the Jichiriki. If anybody has a problem with that, it doesn't matter what your rank is, we'll beeping kill ya." Omake end. A Tenjou Tenge x Naruto crossover. Please give me your response regarding this. Omake number 2. Bonded. My name is Haruno Sakura. I have this special ability. I can see ghosts. A pink-haired girl of about 15 years old is walking down the street. The girl puts a flower in a bottle which is situated near a telephone pole. "Thank you, Oni-chan," the transparent figure of what appeared to be an 8-year-old boy said. "It's nothing, I hope you can go to heaven soon," Sakura said, a smile on her face. After walking a bit more, she stopped in front of a house and entered. "Tadaima," Sakura shouted as she entered their home, a small clinic. "Okari Sakura-chan, have you eaten yet?" Haruno Iyame, Sakura's mother, asked. "Not yet, just let me get changed, then we can eat dinner," Sakura said while going up the stairs to her room. When she opened the door to her room, she noticed that there was a blonde-haired boy clothed in all black standing in the middle of the room. "Anyo, excuse me," Sakura said nervously as she tapped the boy on the shoulder. The boy turned around to face her. "You can see me?" the boy said while pointing at himself. "Yes," Sakura replied. "Why, am I not supposed to be able to see you?" "Yeah, normal humans aren't supposed to be able to see Shinigami," the boy said excitedly. Sakura looked shocked. "Ehhhhhhh. You're a Shinigami." Omake number 2 end. Isho, together. The Sandaime Hokage had just finished another round of paperwork. Sometimes he felt like being Hokage just isn't worth it. As he finished stacking the paperwork, he felt a strong killing intent, and it was getting closer to his office. After doing that thingy where he takes off his robe and appears in his battle armor, he decided that using a camouflage cloth, you know, those blanket things they use to blend into the surroundings and hide beside the door. Big mistake, as the door, which Sandaime knew to only swing outwards, into the hall, swing inwards and was torn of its hinges by being swung the wrong way. His reaction proved to be too late as the door flattened him against the wall. Into the office stormed an obviously pissed off Tsunade, dragging a Naruto who was sporting a black eye, Sarutobi-sensei. "I have something to discuss with you," she cried out in a disturbingly sweet voice. She looked around the office and found a human-shaped indentation on the wall. Peeling of the door and found the great Sandaime Hokage pasted on the wall, cracks forming around the indentation made by her slamming him into the wall with a door. A few minutes later, "It was the only place we could find on such short notice," a now conscious Sandaime said, dressed once again in his robes. Tsunade, who was seated across the table from him, frowned. "I was no informed that I would be living with this brat," and slammed her hands onto the desk, causing it to creak due to her monstrous strength. Naruto had regained consciousness just in time to hear the last part. "Yeah, I mean, who would want to live with an annoying old hag like her?" he said while pointing at Tsunade. The Hokage watched as the two bicker like children. "Enough. Both of you," he shouted. The two immediately stopped and sat down quietly in their chairs. "Naruto, Tsunade has no place to stay, and having her live at the hotel does not sound good for my wallet or Konoha's treasury, so she will be living with you for a while, okay?" "But why at my place?" Naruto asked. "Because other than me, Tsunade-dosen, do you know anyone else in Konoha, and since you met her first, it would be ideal to let her stay with you. She's new in Konoha, that means she doesn't know about the Kyuubi." Naruto thought. "Fine then. But I'm doing this just because you asked me to, Jii-chan," Naruto replied, a grin on his face. "Very well then, remember to report to the Genin assembly tomorrow. You are dismissed," the Hokage said. "Okay then, Yane," Naruto exclaimed as he walked out of the office. Through the window of his office, the Hokage watched Naruto leave the tower. "Tsunade, do you know why that kid appears to be hated by the entire village?" the Hokage said, turning to face Tsunade, who was behind him. It was because some kind of demon was sealed into him, right? Tsunade replied. Correct, however that's not everything. The Hokage related the entire story of the fourth dying, Kyuubi getting sealed into Naruto, etc. At the end of the story Tsunade nearly cried. Such a heavy burden for one so young, she said, tears threatening to burst from her eyes. The fourth intended for Naruto to be seen as hero, but that was not the case, Sandaime said, eyes downcast. This is where you come in. I am sure that you know what Naruto's life was like. It would be better for him if he had more people to acknowledge his existence. Fine then, sensei, Tsunade said and sighed in defeat. Thank you, Tsunade, and if you don't mind, there is one more task I would like to ask of you. Sandaime said. Tsunade raised her head to listen to her sensei's request. The day after, Naruto woke up groggily and decided to take a shower. After said shower he remembered that today was the day of the teams are going to be chosen. Consuming his now cooked instant ramen, he quickly dressed himself and bolted out of his house. After reaching the classroom someone said to him, "What are you doing here? This only for those who passed." "Can't you see this?" Naruto shouted in the boy's face while pointing at his forehead protector. When he entered the classroom he was greeted by the sight of Sakura and Ino trying to get the seat beside Sasuke. "Move it, forehead girl, get out of the way, Ino pig. The one who's going to sit next to Sasuke-kun is me," they said while pushing at each other. Damn that Sasuke, always getting the attention. Naruto thought, I'll show him, and with that, stepped on Sasuke's desk and stared down at him. Apparently this was a bad decision as someone accidentally pushed Naruto, causing him to lock lips with Sasuke. All the girls in the room looked at the scene aghast. No. Sasuke-kun's first beep. There was a moment of silence before all of the girls looked at Naruto. Battle or is blazing. Naruto, ooh, they all said. Now Naruto, who had just recovered from said beep, wiped his lips on the sleeve of his orange jacket while spitting all over the place, then looked up in alarm as he saw the girls who had just surrounded him. "What's wrong, Sakura-chan?" he asked to Sakura, who was just beside him. Sakura's hand lashed out a speed comparable to Yamazaki's snake fist and grabbed Naruto's collar. "Naruto, no, baka," she shouted after delivering what looked to be an extremely painful punch to the side of Naruto's face. The other girls followed, delivering punch after punch on Naruto. Iruka entered the classroom and was greeted with the sight of a twitching Naruto on the ground, multiple bruises on high face. "What happened to you?" he asked. "Punches, so many. Can't block," Naruto said while standing up and proceeding to the back of the classroom. "I will be announcing the team arrangements," Iruka said, and so. Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke looked up. Haruno Sakura. "Hell yeah, take that, Ino pig," said Sakura, who stood up from her seat and pointed at Ino. "Uzumaki Naruto." Sakura immediately deflated and Naruto cheered. "Your Junin senseis will come here to pick you up, so until then wait here," and with that, he left the room. One by one the Junin came and picked up their teams until it was only Team 7 left. "Damn it, our sensei is late," Naruto said in irritation. "Way to state the obvious, Dobi," Sasuke said. Naruto would have shouted back at him but decided that it would have been a waste of time. Instead he decided to prepare a surprise for their late Junin sensei. "What are you doing?" Sakura asked. "It's his fault for being late," Naruto replied while setting the eraser on the top of the door. When the door opened, Naruto expected the eraser to land on the person's head. Instead it was caught and thrown back into his face. "Is that any way to treat your sensei?" the person who just entered asked. Suiku. Jiko Shukai, self-introduction. "Is that any way to treat your sensei?" the person who just entered asked. "A few hours ago, be that boy's sensei?" an incredulous Tsunade asked. "Yes," the Sandaime said after taking a puff of his pipe. "I had originally thought for the person in this file to be his sensei," Sandaime said while handing Tsunade a folder, "but even he does not see Naruto's potential and will most likely focus on the genius Uchiha. Therefore I think it would be in the team's best interest if you teach them." "I don't know, sensei," Tsunade responded, looking over the folder again. "This person seems very capable and I have never led a team before." "Even geniuses have their problems, Tsunade. You should know that very well," Sandaime said. "So, will you accept?" "All right then," I can also assume that except for a handful, most of the Junin of this village hate Naruto, right? Tsunade asked. Sandaime nodded. Okay then, I'll do it, Tsunade decided. Back to the present, a decision Sei hoped she would not regret as she looked upon the three who were now seated across from her on the roof. This arrangement looks eerily familiar, Tsunade thought. Why don't we start by introducing ourselves? Tsunade said. You, the one in orange, why don't you start, and pointed at Naruto. Yosh, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, I like ramen and Iruka-sensei. What I don't like is waiting for my ramen to cook and perverts, and my dream is to become Hokage. Even though you are one yourself, Tsunade thought after remembering her previous meetings with Naruto. Hokage, huh, we'll see. Sakura, seeing that it was her turn, decided to speak up. Haruno Sakura, my likes are. She blushed and looked at Sasuke. My dream for the future is. Blush and look at Sasuke again. What I dislike is Naruto. At those words Naruto pouted. She more concerned about love than being a ninja, I'll fix that later. And you? Tsunade gestured at Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke. Likes? None. Dislikes? None. I don't have a dream, but I have a goal, that is, to kill a certain man. Sasuke-kun is so cool. Sakura thought. Damn, Sasuke trying to act cool again, Naruto thought. Thoughts of revenge at such a young age, that's not good. Seeing that everybody was finished, Tsunade introduced herself. Tsunade, medic nin likes. Sake and gambling, dislikes, perverts and losing bets. My dream is to revolutionize the medical system we have and possibly save more lives. After a moment of silence, Tsunade asked, well, any questions? Sakura raised her hand. Anyo, sensei, why are you named after one of the legendary Sannin? Tsunade was well prepared for such a question. Well, you see, my parents have this strange belief that naming their children after strong people will allow them to become strong as well. I hope they believe this, and they heard about the legendary Kunoichi Tsunade and decided that I be named after her, since famous Kunoichi were rare around that time. Naruto and Sakura just stared blankly at her while surprisingly Sasuke nodded in agreement, since he was also named after a famous ninja, one of the founders of ninjutsu itself, Sarutobi Sasuke. Said to be one of the first ninjas along with Hattori Hanzo, he founded one of the first hidden villages, Kurigakure, and started the cage system, which proved itself effective for managing huge numbers of ninjas instead of having small clans. But enough about that. Tsunade decided to continue. Well, I guess that's it for today. Report to training ground with the Shinobi Memorial early in the morning. Make sure to eat your breakfast, you'll need the energy. Dismissed. After Sasuke and Sakura had left, Tsunade and Naruto stayed on the roof. Shouldn't you be going? Tsunade asked. I don't have anything better to do, Naruto replied. An awkward silence passed between the two until Tsunade broke the silence. Sorry about hitting you last night, Tsunade said while looking down.